Hey, what's up guys? This is Jen, and today we're going to talk about the do's and don'ts of how you hold a pick. This one was requested by Rick, and I think it was a good job that he requested it because I didn't even think to do something like this. So thank you, Rick. So let's talk a little bit about how you want to approach holding the pick. Now for me, I like thinking of like a little T between your thumb and your first finger, like so. Then you're going to insert the pick right in there. So you see how my nail or my finger is pointing the same direction as this part of the pick. So a lot of times people want to do something like this or like this, and so they have to curl their wrist. But really what you want to think of is it's just an extension off of the nail, like so. Now one thing I don't want you to do is the two-finger grip. A lot of people do this, and you're using energy that you don't need to because you're having to hold here with these muscles, and you don't have to. So when you've got just the first finger and the thumb on there, that's going to free up your middle finger, your third finger, and your pinky, which is going to come into play like maybe if you want to do some hybrid picking or the pick and finger combination. So you want as many fingers free as you possibly can. So don't do this. Now, what happens when you're grabbing with two fingers is it's a control thing because we feel like we need to grip really, really hard. The same thing happens with our fretting hand, right? We feel like we need to just hang on for dear life. But you don't actually have to if you're in the right position with your pick. Now, another thing that can help you maintain that control is finding the right kind of picks for you. So I do these Dunlaps. These are my .73s. They are my favorite for electric because they're a little bit harder because I play aggressively. But there is a slight grain on the pick surface. So it doesn't slide as much when I'm playing a lot or like I'm, get sweaty running around playing, and it doesn't slip as much. So don't be afraid to, if you feel like you don't have control over the pick and that you're trying these new ways with just the thumb and the first finger and it's kind of sliding, out like this, which is common, or in, it might be that you just don't have the right picks for you as far as texture-wise. So the nice thing about like Amazon and things like that is that you're not stuck buying picks just from the store of whatever they have. So you can go to Amazon and you can find lots of different textures and sizes and shapes. So I'd encourage you to just kind of get like a grab bag of picks and see with this technique which one feels the best for you. So now remember, you've got it pointing towards you like this, these fingers free. So you want to look at your wrist, and you don't want this and you don't want this, right? If the pick is being held correctly with your arm straight here, the pick should be pointing right at the strings. You can see that. So you don't have to do anything extra. You're not doing this or this. Now, once you have it pointing right at the strings, you like the texture of it, you want to keep it a little bit loose in your fingers. So watch not using these muscles here to like we said, like grab on for dear life, right? You want to keep it a little bit loose because you want to make sure that when you're strumming, your wrist is able to move freely. If I'm tightening up here, it's going to sound tight, right? Because the wrist needs to move. I always say, like, if you wash your hands and there's no paper towels, you'd kind of do this to get the water off, right? So that's that same mentality that I want you to approach picking with is, okay, can I do this? Is my pick facing the strings? Okay. But if you grab on tight to the pick, you are not going to be able to use your wrist in the same way. Does that make sense? So I want you to approach it with little T here. Slip that pick right in. Make sure you have the right pick for you, so right texture, right size, right shape. Turn your arm in. You'll notice that the pick is now facing the strings. Check your wrist. Nice and loose, so just before you do anything, just see how that feels. Then go to strum. And the last thing that I would say is watch planting. And this happens a lot, especially when we're doing like picking like this. The tendency is to want to plant, again, because we're trying to maintain control or hold on to some control so it feels better. But if you notice, you're going to be using a lot of these muscles to stay still, right? I always think of it like if you're playing Twister, the game Twister, right? And you have to keep your hand here and move your other body parts around to hit something else, it creates tension. It's hard. So that's essentially what you're doing here is you're playing Twister, you're having to hold down here, it's creating tension, which means you're not able to move as much. So I'd really encourage you to not plant. I see like this a lot. Or like that with your pinky or with your third finger. Try to relax and watch your picking hand so you can develop confidence in moving and getting to strings without that need to be stuck right here on the body of the guitar. It's going to take some time. It's going to feel uncomfortable, I know, but it will ultimately lead you to be able to play faster and more consistent, more clean. Now, you will see me when I'm picking. I will gently rest my fingers right on the strings here sometimes just to kind of get my bearings. Because, you know, sometimes if you're strumming and then you go into picking, it's like, okay, where am I? But you notice that when I'm picking, I can come off of it. So when you're changing any techniques or when you're looking at your techniques, it's important to say, can I not do this? Because if you're like, no, I can't, I have to plant, that means there's a problem. If you need to plant every once in a while just to get your bearings, cool. But if you know you can do it without planting, that's what we're going for. So just take a look at your techniques. Remember, try to keep everything relaxed, shoulder down, and it's really important when you're learning how to pick or you're changing a technique that you take, you know, a couple minutes each practice session to just focus on that. So you say, okay, for the next 2 minutes, I'm going to focus on my picking, and then move on to something else. But don't try to change a technique or add something new or play with a new pick or anything, and then try to do things that are really complicated, because you're going to go back immediately to what you already know and your bad habits. So take 2 minutes, set a timer, adjust, go slow, think about it just like this. Okay, 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 what's happening, what's happening? Don't plant. Fingers relaxed, let those fingers curl in. And I think you should be good. It will be frustrating for a bit, but if you can stick with it, you'll be able to play faster and cleaner, and your hand will feel better. So that's my advice for the do's and don'ts of picking. This is a Patreon-supported video, and Rick is actually one of my patrons. He's been with me for a long time, so thank you, Rick, for asking for this video, and thank you to all of my patrons who've been supporting me for a long time. If you're interested in finding out how to support, please go to patreon.com/JenTrani, and you can see how you can help me continue to do these videos and help you guys and other people out learning how to play this amazing instrument that I absolutely adore. All right, I will talk to you guys soon.